So really, everything's kind of still where it is. I think I ended up doing a decent amount of wounds to your Nurglings in that fight, but you still ended up winning. But it was very close. My BSB went up to fight against the Great Unclean One in the other fight, and I actually lived through his attacks, but then he stomped on me and I died.
Yeah, the stomp did 2 wounds, and then I did a couple wounds with my Furies in the rear and didn't take any wounds back. So I won this combat, and you're still on that steadfast, but now you're -2 to your leadership because my banner's in range.
It's true, and the key thing here too was his killing my BSB actually cost me my 3rd rank, so it dropped my leadership to a 9. So
without a reroll.
So I was steadfast on a 9 and I failed.
Oh well, steadfast on a 7 after.
Oh right. Yeah. So I failed. The other thing of note is that one thing that really annoyed me about the Furies in this game was I hit them pretty much whenever I wanted to attack them with clan rats, but I could only ever roll 3s to wound. So I don't think I ever successfully did a wound with my clan rats to your Furies at all.
Yeah, certainly not at this point. You hadn't. So he passed the turn on to me. It's not looking great for the rats. This is my final turn, and I declared a charge with Furies on his clan rat caster bunker and sent it 2d6 inches away, and then I declared a charge with my Great Unclean One on the same unit, again sending it 2d6 inches away, just trying to catch it with one of the units, and my Furies redirected and made their leadership and instead hit the clan rats that had the Bone Breaker or Bone Cruncher or whatever he's called.
It's just a rat ogre.
Yeah.
You can just call it a rat ogre. It's still a rat ogre.
The Corn guys just went after that Doom Flare because it's, what, 55 points that I can grab pretty easily.
Yep.
And that was it for movement phase for me. Nothing else to move. For magic, I just wanted to get off that bubble spell, which unfortunately you said no and didn't let me have it.
It's true. This was the most epic fight of the whole
Yes.
thing because this time I rolled out of my mind. I made 2 6-ups out of 6-ups from the Furies attacking in the flank, and then I think I made all my saves against the horrors. So the only thing that actually I'm sorry, your horrors did kill my wizard.
Oh yeah.
But all the dead clan rats come from the Nurglings on the side. You rolled a lot of poison. I think you got 6 poison wounds and then like 3 or 4 more. And I made some saves, but not enough. What really saved me was my general killed 4 horrors, and then the Rat Ogre Bonebreaker killed another 3, I think, or 2. So I ended up killing quite a few horrors, and it ended up actually being a draw combat.
Yeah, which was really crazy. When we added it up, I felt like I was going to win, and it's like, wait a minute, draw? No. The Nurglings, I just have to say, I should have been probably even more aggressive with them, because they're throwing in...
it was 15, right?
Yeah, well, in this combat, I'm throwing in 20 attacks.
That's right, yeah.
Which, with poison, is just great, and I was rolling really great on my poison. You should get 3 or 4, and I was getting 5 or 6 every turn for poison, which is really great. So I passed the turn.
Wasn't really much for me to do. I had 2 units left. One was fleeing, which did manage to rally, and the other was locked in combat. So I simply made my rally check and then reformed my unit, and then my whole plan was to try to teleport myself closer and then dread at 13th the Bloodletter unit and at least get points for that at this point. I mean, I'm trying to make up whatever I can. My engineer was dead, so I couldn't Cracks call the Great Unclean One anymore, so I didn't really have any way to take him down. Unfortunately, I rolled I got an 11 for power dice on this turn.
Yeah, it was
crazy.
huge. It was ridiculous.
I rolled like a 6 and a 5. So and then you channeled 2, so you actually had 8. So I threw like 5 at Skitterleap to get my Gracier in range to dread at 13th, the unit I wanted, and Matt basically was like, "What else can you do?" I'm like, "Well, I'm kind of not in range." Like, all right, well, he just threw all 8 of his dice to stop that, so I didn't get to go anywhere.
Yeah, it was pretty nice. I was thinking, like, wait a minute, I think his spells are 24-inch range, and you definitely didn't have 24 inches of anything useful, so if I stopped this one spell, you were done for the game, which,
yep,
hey, that's huge. I wanted to keep my points for what I had on the table.
So we went on to round 2 of this epic duel. Unfortunately for me, the Nurglings did just as well in this round as they did last time and killed several people. Matt was better with his ward saves, and I was worse in my attack roll, so my general killed a total of 1 horror, which you can see hiding out behind that tree there.
I was on fire with ward saves this phase, and that's usually the way it goes for me for demons. I'll have a couple turns where guys just die over and over again, and then I'll have a turn where I'm rock solid, nothing goes off the board. And those are the turns where the game swings around, because you win combats that really you shouldn't win a lot of times. In 7th, I think it was more brutal than it is in 8th, but in 7th, man,
Yeah.
if you made those word saves when they charged against you, it's just like, oh, guess what? You lost the combat and you charged. So you did lose this combat, and I was able to run you down.
Yep. I don't even think we rolled that. I think we just called it, because I would be. I mean, I was already behind at that point, so.
Yeah, you're right. No matter what. I don't know if I had the massacre at this point, but I certainly had the victory. So
you didn't lose. I mean, you lost 2 fiends and 1 unit.
2 units of Furies.
No, you didn't lose the 2nd unit of Furies.
Oh, yeah, 1 unit of Furies, 2 fiends, and 1 level 2 caster who wasn't my general.
So we're talking like maybe 350 points you lost.
Yeah, and then I had
not a lot.
All the bonuses on you, your BSB, and all that other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, the hands was extended. This was a fun game that I felt like it was anybody's game until the beginning of the 5th round, when I had the big charge round.
At that point, I had kind of run out of things to throw in the way, and because the one thing about Skaven Magic is it can turn a game on its head at any point. So as long as I've still got my casters around and they're safe, I can go from being in a draw or a loss to completely massacring my opponent. Like, it happens. Like if I'd gotten the Grid and Clean one before, or if I hadn't charged my Plague Monks, I maybe would have dreaded 13th you. But because of the banner, I was on a 50-50 if I had to charge. And I was nervous about actually being closer to the Fiend than the Bloodletters, so I had to declare the charge on the Bloodletters and just try and go for it.
Oh, yeah, because if you'd failed your leadership, you would have had to charge against the Fiend, which would have been so terrible for you.
Because then I would have hit it 1 and then got flank charged by the Bloodletters in your turn. So it was not an option in my mind.
You would have had a required overrun, which might actually put you... even worse than a flank. It might have been a rear charge.
Yeah, it was nothing good, though.
Exact angle. Yeah, so this was a good game against Keith, and this week I've been able to reclaim a little bit of bragging rights. I had a really tough game last week, and this week I was able to pull out a golden mini, and Keith brought a really awesome one. This is probably the most impressive golden miniature we've had so far, and you can see the picture here. It's one of the older Demon Princes.
Yeah,
really
I won
cool.
a local tournament. I won one of the new plastic ones, so I was like, well, I'm never going to use this guy. I hadn't painted him yet, so I was like, I'm never going to paint him, really. So
yeah,
I figured it was the only model appropriate for the army, so...
Yeah, it's perfect. I'm going to incorporate him, hopefully, in a battle report coming up soon. I'd like to try out...
Do you think they're more viable in 8th now?
Okay, that's a loaded question. Yes, I do think they're more viable. But I do think that they're drastically worse than any of the greater demons.
Right. Well, it's also, I mean, certain games some greater demons, you can't give them the gifts they need to be good. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, Demon Prince is only, 300 base or around there? Yeah,
he's 325 if I recall correctly. So, let's say we're playing a game of... 1,799 points, which makes it so that I can't afford to bring myself a greater demon. In that case, maybe I'd spend some points on a Demon Prince.
So in very, very isolated circumstances.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to fit him in anyway, just because I'd like to use the model. But Demon Princes were just kind of a flub, and it was a chance to sell models that GW completely flubbed on, because nobody wants one for the Chaos Warriors at the moment, and certainly nobody wants one for the Chaos Demons, because they're just terrible.
Yeah, that's very true.
Well, thanks for coming on. I'm going to be playing the Crossroads next week. I'm going to be using this exact same list, and hopefully I'm going to do pretty well. I'm also using the list in a doubles game against the Tales of Battles guys, Matt Birdoff and Kevin Coleman,
I've played each of them once, and I'm undefeated against those guys.
Whoa,
So you'll probably have to do. You can't be losing to them now, especially because they're well aged past their prime.
Yeah, I'd say. I'm going to be playing with Paul, another one of the Lost Legion guys, and the two of us have pretty good track record for the last few GTs we played in, so I'm feeling pretty good about our chances. We'll see, though. I've heard that Birdoff has a Pandemonium Hell Cannon list.
Does he?
Yeah, that's what I've heard, although that wasn't directly from the source, so I'm not positive. And I imagine Kevin Coleman has his basic 40 goblins strong units, and maybe 3 rock lavas and 4...
Probably a big unit of trolls. Usually,
okay, yeah.
You can't get away from trolls with him.
Yeah,
so
maybe a unit of 8 trolls or something. I'm not overly worried about anything that either one of them can take as selections. The rock lavas are a little bit bothersome because if he takes the full allotment of 3 and there's 2 hell cannons, that's too many shots for my Grand and Clean One to survive.
But you do have the Men of the Empire coming to back you up, which conveniently tends to make up for a lot of the weaknesses of the demon army. So, so depending on what Paul brings, you should be in pretty good shape.
There's one big thing to mention too. When Kevin and Matt accepted our challenge, they added a second challenge on top of that. We challenged them to a doubles game of 1,200 for each player, and they upped the challenge to 2,400 for each player and said, play with your GT list. And we said, sure, we'll do that if you let Empire and Demons be allied armies. Because they had already planned their matchup based off allied armies, and we were really restricted because Paul didn't have a painted 2400 that was ready to go for 8th edition yet for Evil Army.
He had a cavalry-based Warriors of Chaos list, which is not as good anymore as it used to be.
Not as good, that's one way of putting it. I think he can pull together a 1,200 point out of it because he had a few Marauders, and cavalry still aren't terrible.
Especially not Chaos Knights.
Yeah, they're still good, especially if you give them that Banner of Rage. Hey, what's your take on the Banner of Rage and its effects on the mounts? Are you familiar with the controversy?
Isn't there a ruling in the big rulebook where it basically states that you don't grant...
It says riders with Frenzy don't grant Frenzy to their mount, but the Banner of Rage says the unit gets Frenzy. It says all models in the unit get Frenzy, so you'd think that means...
Well, the model gets it.
The horse itself gets it. You know?
Yeah, I mean it's a tricky thing. Like, I don't know. It's whenever GW starts being consistent with their wording and ruling, then these won't be problems anymore. But it states the model. I mean the unit, and so I mean I don't know. But it's like the thing when you take a unit of knights and mark them corn, you're marking the quote-unquote model and the unit. You're not saying I'm marking the rider's corn. So I don't see any difference in that effect. So if it would rule that a mark of corn doesn't give frenzy to the mounts, then the banner doesn't either. It's just got to be consistent either way.
Yeah, well, consistency isn't GW's big thing. They've ruled back and forth on a lot of things in the past, which is cool. You know, they have to because they're trying to sell models and they're trying to balance a game, and those two things don't always work well with each other.
Certainly not.
So, that's it for episode 5. Join us for episode 6 next week. That is going to be coming to you straight from the Crossroads GT in New York. It's going to be a really great time, and we're going to have a really, hopefully, epic multiplayer game to show for you. Alright, thanks a lot.